Well, hello there, humans, bees, earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and whoever you're lucky enough to be doing it too. I'm Buska On Blitz, and I'm here today to have a little drive down memory lane. This is my old buddy, the KV4. And I've been kind of looking at some of the tanks that I either haven't done before or I haven't really talked about for a while and haven't really come to grips with. This is a patron-sponsored post. Patreon's brilliant, and for those of you who are wondering, there's been a whole heap of competitions going on the channel of late via live stream where you kill me, you get some prizes, and you go on the draw for a big prize, and they're sponsored by the patrons. There's a section of the patron community that wanted to get involved, and they've formed the patron competition committee, and they're putting up the prizes with their own money. So hats off to them. I think it's really important that we understand that Patreon is a big community, but it's also full of people that want to give back, which is very, very cool. And they're the people who allow me to make videos for you guys every single day of the week. And the next one is going to be on Easter Sunday, 8 PM Eastern, we'll be doing the live stream. So if you want to be involved in the competition, jump on there, blow me up. I'll be doing count-ins on the live stream. KV4 is a tank that was hugely influential in my Blitz career. I found it to be an absolute monster for grinding win rate. The missus was having a shower. Nearly went over and I just had to suddenly dash, but she's all right. Luckily, I pressed stop before I left because I'm an efficient YouTube video creator. So where was I? Cave before my heart rate went up to 1,000 beats a minute. The KV4 was hugely influential because it was basically this incredibly overpowered tank because the meta was such that there was a whole heap of heavies and a whole heap of very, very close proximity. Bounced off that bloke. What do you think of that? Very, very heavy close in fights. And it was one of those weird tanks where I had low average damage and tremendously high win rate. You could win 70% of your games in that tank and still only average 1,600 damage or 1,700 damage, which was really surprising considering the way it performed. And the gun, the Zis, 107mm Zis, is pretty bloody good. So basically what I'm getting at here is the old trope is that nowadays the meta's changed, and that's just not part of the meta. And now you can't drive tanks like the KV4 successfully. Now, I did a video not so long ago called The Meta's Moving, and basically talked about how medium tanks were being nerfed a little bit, and the heavy tanks were coming back into the game, and particularly big TDs too. And it's true, there's a lot of them out there. Absolutely is the truth. There's a lot more, well, varied, I think. I don't understand the reasoning behind it's bad that we have 3 TDs in a game. There's basically 3 or 4 tank classes, and at tiers 9 and 10 there's only 3 tank classes. And if you've got 30 to 40% of your team made up of one class, well, that's to be expected because that's how many there are. But we fall into this trap of believing that everything is one thing, that the world is without complexity and there's no nuance or variation. It's just not true. So I drove this thing, and Ouija and I drove it. I think we had an 11-2 record in the run. And what I found was that if you are aggressive in a tank like the KV4 and you actually use it as a big battering ram style tank, and a tank that lacks the subtlety of for lack of a better word, a medium, a Russian medium or a light tank, hey, guess what? You can create the meta that this tank needs to be successful. I'm on Black Goldville here, and I can see that the enemy has 3 TDs, 2 of which are tier 9 and are very, very big and nasty. But I know that I'm in a tank that if I can set it up on a corner, I can get in excess of 350mm of armor, effective armor, on my angle, and that's at like 20-22 degrees of angle. That's not even including the fact that some of that armor is going to be track. And hello, here are the 3 big nasty TDs. And here's me on the corner. Now the secret with the KV4 and tanks like this is you have to be prepared to not be the hero in terms of damage. Sure, it can do great damage, and a lot of people are very, very good at driving tanks, and they can do amazing damage, as I've said before, on a skateboard with a pea shooter mounted on the front of it. But for me, you see a tank like the KV-4, and you can put it in situations where you basically are body spotting them. You are holding them so tight in a killer clinch where you will not allow them to penetrate you and do damage, but you will keep them spotted up, and the guys behind you can wreck. And you can see Ouija in the Tier 8 TD has basically used my hit point pool there. He ended up doing 3.5k damage that game, and I bounced a lot of shots and kept 3 Tier 8 and 9 TDs in front of me, and we wrecked him because I didn't stop. And again, here, I'm pushing all the way through the map. I'm at the very front edge of the game, despite being in a tank that's at best described as lumbering, at worst described as slow. And I'm going to spot this SU-152, but because I'm not a brainless, gormless idiot, and I don't want to just hit point trade in my tank, I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to angle. I'm going to give him no shots that he can theoretically penetrate, and I won't give him any targets, and I am just going to wait until our advantage comes to fruition and they turn around this corner and blow him the hell up. And he's not doing anything particularly wrong, the SU-152. He's just run into literally a rock and a hard place. There's a rock, and I've kept him spotted up. He's been unable to move away, and he's pumped and dumped. And the really interesting thing I found is that there is no meta. And this will blow your mind, but there is no meta. We say that because we want to have reasons. There has to be something that's explainable. It has to be zero sum. By that, I mean that X plus X is 2X, or Y plus Y is 2Y. And it can't possibly be that there is just a human variant in there that you cannot explain. And that's exactly what happens with this tank. You make the game, you influence the game. I mean, look at the over angle on that thing there. Look at that Tiger when he's over angled. I'm going to go straight through the side. The meta changes every game. It's why Blitz is awesome, is because it's nuanced. And I see so many people whinging about things like, oh, big TDs are in the game, or the 183 should be deleted, X, Y, Z. I mean, look at this tank go. If you give it the opportunity, if you make that opportunity a real thing, you can be heavily influential on the game. And I mean, I'm getting banged from pillar to post here. I am so wrecked. My turret's destroyed. I keep getting hammered in the tracks. My gun, it's just doing all kinds of things. All I'm trying to do is bounce more shots and keep them lit up and wait for the rest of my team to finish off the guys over here on my right, and then they can tidy up the scraps over here on my left. And the Tiger knows this. He is in a bit of a tough spot. My gun's screwed, so I've got nothing I can do there. Other Tiger one's pushing up. We're immobilized, so we're going to take one from the side on him. But this is so much fun for me. I love this style of gameplay, really do. The just up close and personal meat shield. And look at this. Last 4 tanks left on the map. They're all over there. They're in front of me. They're stuck. They can't move up. They're spotted and destroyed, and we're beat to hell. We've done next to no damage, but I feel like we have been tremendously influential in the outcome of this game. Turret again. Gets wrecked. Get wrecked, turret. So where am I going with this? Well, basically, make your own meta. Make your own meta. If you're in a tank that's really, really big and nasty and heavy, use it like a tank that's really big and nasty and heavy. And it might mean taking a risk. It might mean putting yourself in the front line. But that's what the tank's for. Drive it like you meant to drive it. Drive it like you stole it. Drive it if you're in a really fast light tank. You can do all these things. Drive it in a way that can be successful, is basically what I'm saying. And for that, you have to be able to adapt. And you've got to be able to change the way the game is played. Every single map. And you've got to learn from experience. And you've got to move forward and be part of the team at times, and other times you've got to sit at the back. But I just think we need to move past the idea that it's now all TDs, or it's now all mediums, or it's now all this. And I'm as bad a perpetrator as anyone else at this. But the more I play the game, and I've played it more than most people on this planet Earth, the more I realise that the game's just a lot more complex and nuanced than you give it credit. For. And the maps provide enough variation that there are just seemingly endless outcomes, and make your own meta, move forward. Tier 9 game, find the front line, get to it, and become part of it. And if you die, you die. I mean, if you die, you die, but you die doing the right thing for your team, and it's not always going to work. Like, the best players in the world run at 80% win rate. The best guys in the world run at 80. The top 1% in the whole game are running in the 70s. Like, they're losing 3 out of 10. And they are as good as you can hope to be, theoretically or realistically. And they're losing 3 out of 10. Like, stop getting upset because everyone's driving a TD in your game and you're in a light tank and you feel like you're about to get pulverized. You probably are. Because you can't be all things to all people, and the game's going to change, and it's nuanced and it's complex. And you can't expect to have the same variation every single game on that one theme, and that you're going to be able to drive it exactly the same way and be successful every single time. It's one of the reasons why the best tanks in the game, in my opinion, are the flexible tanks. Tanks like an IS-6, tanks like an LTTB, tanks that can bring a little bit of armour to the table, tanks like the T-54 Mod 1 who have some of this and some of that and a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and can blend it all in together and do multiple things for multiple people. If you only got a tank that's a one-trick pony, then make sure that when you drive it, you're doing that one trick. I guess. Sorry for carrying on like a pork chop, boys and girls. That's the KV4. It works great. It's still very, very relevant. And yeah, I think I had a chat with a few people about this tank today, and I think I was wrong. It's bloody good. It still works just a treat. And I've been driving a few heavy tanks today. If you make the meta work for you, you can do the business as well. Love your work. Thanks for listening. And until next time, stay safe on the battlefield.